Hello everyone, welcome back to the second episode of the medieval castle build. Today we are doing the interior and the last episode was the exterior, so I'm going to link the exterior in the description down below, so be sure to check that out if you haven't checked it out already, if you weren't there. Just go watch it if you haven't seen it yet. So right now we're just starting in with the floor plan, and I would like to apologize that this took so long. And boy, oh boy, is there a reason. But we'll get to that in a second. So we're doing the floor plan, and with this build, I had a really hard time because there isn't a lot of stuff in the game that lends itself to being medieval, if that makes sense. So I have to do a lot of improvising or, combining objects or sizing things up. Oh, sorry, my dog is being dumb. She just jumped off my bed and then's clawing her way back up like I forced her up. Like, kid, you did it to yourself. Oh, now she's gonna sit in my lap? Oh, you good girl. Oh, she's so cute. But anyway, so I had to do a lot of inventing my own objects or using the resizer to make things appear to be different than they were. I don't know. Right here in the farthest tower, I made a bit of a servant's room. There's the bed, which that's a bed from the Sims 3 store, and then on the tower below it, there's a toilet, and eventually I put in a shower, and that's all attached to the kitchen. So the servant would use a ladder to get from the kitchen to her bathroom and then to her bedroom. And below everything else, there's a bit of a dungeon. And by a bit of a dungeon, I mean a full-fledged dungeon. Those are custom content bed frames. Those beds aren't actually functional, unless you put the mattress that came with it in the custom content set. But I just think it looks cooler when it's, just slats of wood. If you want it to be functional, you could just put in beds. But yeah, as I was saying, it was really hard to make it look medieval, but one of the things that I definitely did to make it more medieval was a lot of crosses, because they were very, very Christian in medieval times. Like, Christ had, just existed. Like, he was a very recent phenomenon back then. So they were very religious, so I definitely kept that in mind when I was building this, and so there are crosses everywhere, and crucifixes, and and I put that globe there, but I ended up getting rid of it later, because even as I put it down, I was like, they didn't believe in a globe back then. They were all flat earthers back then. And it just felt really weird putting a globe in a medieval castle, knowing full well that nobody believed in anything but a flat earth. But I got rid of it later on. I was gonna just keep it and be like, oh, maybe this king was very progressive, but, like, who am I kidding? They literally beheaded people for being anything but a flat earther. But anyway, right now I'm just figuring out a platform for the throne room, which I ended up having to redo because it wasn't centered and it was bothering me. But I made a throne room. Those are chairs from the Sims 3 store. And I resized one of them so that it's a that the actual king's throne is bigger than the other chairs, which I think is really cool. I use the resizer. By the way, this is one of my more custom content heavy builds. So if you guys want to have this in your game, just be aware of that. There will be a custom content list on the download link to the link to my Tumblr, which is in the description. You can download it, and there was also going to be a CC list along with a list of everything I used that's store content. So yeah, there is a lot of store content because the base game and expansions didn't come with very many period things, and there is a lot of custom content, the crosses and everything. And as usual, as always for my builds, it is required that you have the One More Space Please mod and the resizer mod, which will also always be linked with all of my build downloads, just because I watch people build in The Sims 4, right? And they all have the option to, resize things. We don't have that option in The Sims 3. Oh, look at this. I built a beautiful shrine to Jesus. Isn't that so cute? I love that. I love that so much. The crucifix is a little creepily realistic there, which they didn't have back then, but don't worry, I make it wooden later. But I really love that little shrine that I did. I used outdoor plants inside and rocks inside to like, and then I put candles around it, and I resized all the candles to be different sizes, and it looks really, really nice. Like, it really looks like a shrine to their Lord and Savior, which I think is really cool. But as I was saying, in The Sims 4, there's an option to, like, make things bigger or make them smaller, and, like, we don't have that in Sims 3, unless you have a mod, and it just makes everything a lot more customizable if you have the Resizer mod, so that's what I did. And next to the thrones, there's a little, like, a little scribe table, you know, for if the king has any people that call on him, it's the scribe's job to, like, jot down everything that the king is saying, or that the visitor is saying, you know, to keep it for, like, record purposes. And yeah, so this right here, I ended up making somewhat of a tapestry kind of thing, because, if you know anything about medieval culture, there was a lot of tapestries. Like, if you've ever, like, visited a castle that still exists from medieval times, there's tapestries. Or, like, a museum, there's tapestries. Or if you watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, one of the lies that Indiana Jones tells in order to get into the castle is that he wants to look at the tapestries. He pretends to be a French artist that wants to look at tapestries. And then the guy guarding the Nazi castle says, "If you are an artist, then I am Mickey Mouse," or something like that. It's one of the best quotes ever. That's very, very off subject. But yeah, tapestries. And so there are no tapestry objects in the game. So what I did was I just changed some of the wall patterns to look like fabric, and then I put curtains around them, and it kind of looks like a tapestry. I can put pictures in of different, like, real medieval tapestries as we're going, because most of them were actually, like, pictures that actually told a story. Oh, look at this rug right here. I used wooden patterns to make a rug, and then I just turned them all into carpet fabric, and it looks really cool. Because none of the rugs that I actually wanted to use, the actual rugs, none of them were the right size, so I made my own. But as I was saying, most of the medieval tapestries, like, actually back in the day, like, had, like pictures of stories, like, they had people or animals, or, like, a lot of them had unicorns, actually. But I didn't, there wasn't really any way to do it in The Sims, so they're kind of just all, like fabrics, like, different patterns, and, like, fleur-de-lis, and, stuff like that. And this room in particular is very, red, and then the tapestry is very red, and there's a lot of reds and a lot of golds in this, in this castle. Palace is a whole different time period. I feel like the royal colors of this monarchy are, like, you know, red and gold. Look, see, there we go. I made the cross look less weird, and it just looks like a wooden Jesus instead of a really creepy, realistic mannequin that bleeds. But yeah, this monarch's color is definitely red and gold. There's a lot of red and gold. The throne room is red and gold. Most of the dining room is red and gold with splashes of blue. That whole sitting room is red and gold. The master bedroom, that, like, the king and queen's bedroom, is red and gold, and then we branch out a little bit with the other bedrooms. So yeah, I'm just doing some recoloring, because if you don't know my style of building, I like to put down my furniture first and then go back and recolor, just because creative style is kind of annoying, and I like to do it all at once. Right now, that ladder goes down to the dungeon in the office, but I'm going to move it, because I move it outside, because I wanted to put the king's private desk back there. So he has a little bit of space, because this is the king's private library, but I also wanted it to be his study, and with the ladder right there was no room for a desk, and, you know, he's the king of the kingdom. He's got to have his own desk, you know? So I just did some reconfiguring. But I think I can pause talking about the build for right now, because... alright, so here is a fun tidbit about why I've been gone so long. So, as you know, I have been hired for my first professional job as a performer ever. I'm working at an amusement park. I'm the entertainment, and we do a show. It's country music, because the area is very country and very kind of, you know, old-fashioned values and everything. So we sing, you know, like, All My Exes Live in Texas, Devil Went Down to Georgia, Rocky Top, Tennessee, and then, like, My Baby is American Made, if any of you know that song, and then, like, you know, God Bless the USA to conclude the show, and we have cowboy hats and boots, and it's really cool. But I announced that a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months ago at this point, but we started rehearsing, because, oh, actually, oh, back up a little bit. The last time I posted the first half of this build, I was still in school, and I was still working on papers. So a little update on that first. Oh, I dropped my hair tie. Oh, I got it. I didn't drop it. Okay. So I finished all my papers, and I took all my finals. My finals went really, really well. I think I'm gonna sneeze. Maybe not. I sat here and waited for that sneeze to come, and it never did, and I am just so disappointed. But, so, I finished all my papers, excuse me, and I did all my finals, and they went really well. I actually just got my grades back while I was at my job last week, and I got a 4.0 in literally every single one of my classes, including my really hard English class. So, yay! So I don't really know what I got on my papers, but I'm assuming it's either a 4.0 or something very close to it, because I got a 4.0 in the whole class. So, like, that's really cool. I really want to see my papers just to, like, to get feedback and stuff, because, you know, I'm a writer and everything, and I want to know, I submitted my story for fiction. I really want to know what he thinks of that, because I really want to, and my fiction professor, like, knows this, like, writer, this famous writer. Well, my fiction professor is a famous writer, but he's also friends with another famous writer, and they're, like, they correspond back and forth about my story, because the other writer, like, read my story before, because I've brought it to other workshops, so, like, I'm, like, getting around as a writer, and it's really cool. And yeah, so finals were good, 4.0 in every class, that's really great. Funny story though, so, my romantic lit final, it was an 8 a.m. final, and my best friend, her name is Sarah, she knows about this channel and everything. I'm actually planning on bringing her in for somewhat of a collab in the near future, so stay tuned for that. But we've been best friends for like 8 years. We met at home on Long Island, and she kind of followed me to college. I'm kidding, she didn't follow me. She did like my school for other reasons. It was just like kind of like, oh cool, my friend goes here too. So like, we just go to school together, and it's really great, and I love her. But, so we were in the romantic lit class together, because she is a double major in musical theater and English, and I'm the musical theater major and a creative writing minor. So we both have to take upper level English classes, and so we were in this romantic lit class together, where we read Frankenstein, and Percy Shelley, and Pride and Prejudice, and Mary Wollstonecraft, and Keats, and Lord Byron, and like all the romantic people and stuff. So we had our final, and it was 8 a.m., but we also had a paper due the day of the final. And I had finished it because I have less classes than my friend Sarah, but she, like, totally overloaded her schedule. She was taking 23 credits. Like, she got permission to take that many because she's a double major, so she was completely swamped with work. Look, I'm making another tapestry right here. So she was really, she had, like, 2 more papers to write than I did. So I had to write like 2, she had to write like 5. So she was really behind, and so she was staying up really late the night before our final because we had a paper due that day as well. So, I stayed up with her because I didn't want her to stay up alone. I didn't want her to fall asleep while she was writing and then not have the paper done. So she's sitting in my room until 4 a.m. and we have a final at 8 a.m. So we were both gonna get like 4 hours of sleep and then take the final and then like go to Starbucks and celebrate and you know, all that. So I get to my 8 a.m. final and Sarah is not there. She went home at 4 a.m. like I said, after she finished her paper and submitted it on Turnitin. She went home at 4 a.m., texted me when she got home, and then we went to sleep. And I texted her as a joke, like, LOL, you ready for our final? And she didn't answer me. And then I get to the classroom, and she's not there. And I was like, oh my god, no, please. Oh my god, no. And so I'm texting her, like, every second I'm like, Sarah, 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 wake up, you're scaring me, Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. And then 8 o'clock rolls around, and like my professor shows up with cupcakes and coffee because it's an early final, and she felt bad for us. And like she's like, "All right, is everyone ready?" And I'm like, Sarah's not here. And she was like, oh my god, this is so not like her. Like, is she okay? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I was up with her all night, and she probably just overslept. And like, and I'm literally like, I'm texting her during the final. I'm messaging her RA during the final. My professor lets me leave the final to call her like halfway through. She's like, want to try calling her one more time? And I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. And it was just really stressful, like the entire time. Like, I literally, like, I mean, I guess I did well enough on the final that it doesn't matter, but, like, I wasn't even focusing on taking the final. I was focusing on wondering where the heck Sarah was. It was so stressful. And then, so the final was from 8 to 10 a.m., and, oh, well, we interrupt, because for some reason the terrain is really dumb on this lot, and so it would not let me at all, no matter what I did, it would not let me put floor tiles right there where that gap where that gap is. So I cover it with a fireplace and a rug and some chairs and some candelabras. So I don't think you can tell, but it's just kind of annoying that that's how I had to do it, because I would have liked to arrange the room differently. I would like the bed to have been against those two windows instead, but because of the holes in the floor, this is what I had to work with. So that's really annoying, but anyway, don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, so our final was from 8 to 10, and I take this whole final calling and texting Sarah during the final, calling and texting her RA during the final, and I hand in the final. I look at my phone, and I have a message from Sarah that says, I literally just woke up. It is 10 a.m. It was an 8 a.m. final, and this girl... It was really, really wild. She just overslept because it was a really long night for her, obviously, and my professor was super understanding. I'm going to interrupt again just to explain what I'm doing here. If you look at pictures of medieval beds, I'll put some pictures that I use for inspiration here over the video. But there's a lot of, like, really long headboards that go all the way up to a canopy, and that's what I was trying to emulate when I was creating that, so... yeah, and I just used the, one more slot package thing that lets you raise and lower stuff, like you can in The Sims 4. I used that to raise up a rug all the way so it looks like a canopy, and put it on top of the, columns, and I think it looks really, really cool and really authentic. I mean, as authentic as it can get in The Sims. So anyway, but... Our professor was really, really understanding, and she was like, oh, you know, Sarah's a hard worker, like, I'm sure she just overslept, and, like, she felt really bad for her, so she just let her make it up at 1 p.m. the same day, so she got very lucky. She's very lucky that our professor is super understanding, and it was just so funny. Like, that whole day was so wild. I still hold it over her head. Like, every chance I get, I go up to her and I say, I literally just woke up. I love to drive her crazy with it. So now it's just a big inside joke. But it was no problem, because she took her final, and then she was done, and we could celebrate, and we had wine, and we watched the Pride and Prejudice movie with Keira Knightley, who I'm in love with, and that's such a good movie. And then all we had to worry about was our voice final, and then my acting final, which both went really well. So, yes. Anyway, back to my job. So, you know, talked about my job, whatever. So, rehearsals started... a couple of days after my finals ended. So I had my last final, which was my acting final, and then I had like a poetry reading thing because one of my poems got into the school magazine. And then I went home, and then I had 4 days at home before I had to travel to my job at the amusement park. So I get there, and there's no electricity in our house. The production company provides housing, and it has nothing to do with the amusement park or anybody affiliated with the park, because they hire an outside production company to provide their entertainment. And so it's the production company's responsibility to provide us housing, not the amusement park. So it has nothing to do with them. Well, okay. So the production company provides the housing, right? But there's no electricity in the house. And nobody knows what's going on. Our producer's not answering us, and our manager is just another kid. He's just a performer like us. He just has the title of manager because he, like, is the only one in direct contact with our producer. So our producer is being, like, super vague about the whole thing, and this is Sunday night, and our first rehearsal is Monday at 1 p.m. So I get there Sunday night, there's no electricity, nobody knows why, the producer's being super cryptic about it, and he's saying, we'll definitely have electricity tomorrow. Okay. So we wake up, and there is still no electricity. We get to the park, we rehearse outside in the rain. It was covered, but, like, because our stage is, it's outdoor entertainment. So we're rehearsing outside, it's covered, but it's raining, and it was cold, and my shoes were soaked, and we get home, and there's no electricity. So what we ended up doing, we found out there was still no electricity before we went home. So, and there's a shower in our dressing room, which is on the property of the amusement park, obviously. And so our manager knew this because he worked there last year, but we didn't. So he brought things to shower with, and me and Sarah and this other girl didn't. So Sarah also has the job, by the way, my best friend. And so we go into the shower, we use our manager's, because he's a boy, we use his Old Spice scented stuff, and we don't want to use his towels, so we dry ourselves off with an entire roll of paper towels that we stole from the supply of paper towels for the amusement park bathroom to dry ourselves off, because that is how desperate we were, because there was no hot water, because it was heated with the electric, which we didn't have. Mind you, this was only Monday, and I really needed to shower because we were outside all day, we were wet, but also, like, we were dancing because the show was very dance heavy, so we were sweaty. Like, we were lifting each other and, like, well, the guys are lifting the girls aren't lifting anybody, but still, we're running around, we're dancing, we're being lifted, and we're all sweating, and I just wanted to shower. And I'm one of those people that hates sleeping, I hate getting in bed feeling dirty. I need to shower before I go to bed, especially if I'm moving around. And so I wash myself in our dressing room shower using Old Spice boy soap, shampoo, conditioner, and then drying myself off with a freaking roll of paper towels. And then I had to put my dirty clothes back on the way home, which, by the way, the house is 20 minutes away from the park because everything is really spread out because it's like in the middle of nowhere. And then I put pajamas on when I got home. And it was freezing that week. The highest was like 49 degrees, and so the house was freezing, and there was no heat because there was no electricity. People are waking up with postnasal drip, with stuffed up noses. I'm losing my voice because, like, I can't plug in my humidifier, which I need to be healthy. And it was horrendous. It was so bad. And keep in mind, that was only Monday. So we get to the park on Tuesday, and in the middle of the day, Tuesday, our producer says, "Good news, guys," and we were all like, "Oh my god, the electricity's on." And he says, "No electricity today, but it will be on first thing tomorrow." And I was like, that was the good news, that we don't have it, but we will have it tomorrow? Okay. And so we were all really upset. Like, people are, like, crying, because, like, yeah, like, we've been spending money on food, and, like, instead of being able to cook, we've been eating out, which is really expensive, and there's no heat, and we're all getting sick, and we can't shower. Like, it was really awful. And then they actually ended up offering, the producer and the choreographer actually ended up offering to have us shower in their cabins, which are, because there's like a campground by the park, so they offered to shower in their cabins, and in addition to us using the dressing room, so that we wouldn't have to, like, all wait to use the dressing room. So everyone got a hot shower that night, but again, it wasn't in our own house, and they gave us a 2-hour dinner break so that we could go home and get our shower stuff, so that we, wouldn't have to use a roll of paper towels again. Like, I had to bring a whole shower caddy, a washcloth, a towel, and clean clothes to an amusement park and then shower in my dressing room because there was no hot water. And that was Tuesday. And then what we were told was first thing in the morning Wednesday we'd have electricity. So I wake up Wednesday morning, I flip on a light switch, and it doesn't turn on. There is still no electricity. This is day 3. For some people who moved in earlier, day 4 or 5 without electricity. Okay? So we have rehearsal Wednesday, and Wednesday is, it's hot, the first hot day, first sunny day. We all forget sunscreen, so we all burn alive, and there's still no electricity. They tell us in the middle of the day that there still will not be electricity until at least tomorrow. And at this point, I hadn't cried about it yet, because I have a reputation of, like, being a crybaby and a complainer, so I, like, really held it in because I didn't want to make a scene. But I was so upset. I was so done. And my dietary restrictions are very, like, a lot, if you guys know, like, and there's no, like, Whole Foods or Wegmans anywhere near the park because it's in the middle of the nowhere. So I had to go to the Whole Foods by my house at home and bring, like, my dairy-free cheese, my dairy-free pudding, and, like, all of my dairy-free stuff that needs to be in the fridge, which we didn't have because there was no power. I had to buy blocks of ice and, like, pack it into the freezer and just hope that it would stay insulated. And so I was just really frustrated. And then, it was terrible. It was so terrible. And then they got us a free cabin, one of the cottages on the property. They were like, "Here, there's heat in this house, there's hot water, you guys can stay here until the power comes on," which I really think we should have had that option to begin with, but that's just my opinion. So we leave the park Thursday. This is Wednesday. So, like, okay, so we leave the park, we go to Applebee's, which, again, is 20 minutes away because everything is super spread out. We go to Applebee's because we just want a hot meal, like a real meal that's not, like, sheets, like a burger or anything. I just wanted pasta. That's all I wanted. And on the way to Applebee's, I felt so sick. I felt sick to my stomach. And they were also, they were painting the pool at the park that day too, because the pool was right by our stage, and so the fumes from the paint, like, they didn't tell us to, like, there were no masks or anything. So I think it was a combination of the fact that everything is really spread out and far apart. There are hills everywhere because it's a very rural area, and there are potholes everywhere. And also probably the paint fumes, and the fact that I was overtired, and the fact that I missed my meds 2 days in a row, my meds for depression and anxiety. So I got really, really sick to my stomach, but I felt okay once I was out of the car, and then I ate my meal. And then on the way back to the house, because mind you, Applebee's was 20 minutes from the park, but our house is 20 minutes from the park the other way. So to get from the park to Applebee's was 20 minutes, but then to get from Applebee's back to the house was 40 minutes. And so me feeling sick to my stomach in a car in the hills, in the potholes was awful. And then we were supposed to go to the house and then go back to the park to spend the night in the park-provided cabin at the park, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get back in the car. I had a complete meltdown. I was sick. I felt like I was going to throw up, and I was losing feeling in my legs, and my lips were tingling, which is like the class A signs of a panic attack for me. Comment down below if you can relate. So that was really bad. But we got electricity on Thursday, which was the day we were leaving. So thanks a lot. So if you're wondering where I've been all this time, I've been rehearsing outdoors, either freezing and getting soaked, or burning alive, and then going home to a house with no lights, no hot water, and no stove and no fridge. So that's where I've been, and no Wi-Fi, mind you, and there's no router in the house, and they couldn't set up the router until there was electricity, which there wasn't for a very long time. So if you're wondering where I've been, that's why. Haven't been able to play The Sims, because you can't play The Sims on a laptop if it's not plugged in, because it's going to die in like 10 minutes, because it takes up so much battery power, and so there was no, and I mean, I probably wouldn't have had time to play even if there was any electricity, but I at least would have been able to finish the house sooner, because Thursday was our last day of rehearsals, and then I got to go home, and I'm going back tomorrow, which is Tuesday, the 22nd. Nope, that's wrong. Tomorrow's Tuesday, the 21st, and I'm going back to, another week of rehearsals, and then the show's open on Memorial Day on the 25th, so that's fun. But going back, the house has electricity. Oh, and the fridge was broken. We just had to get a new fridge. So even though I thought my food was being protected, it wasn't. It just wasn't. I threw out the ice because it was melted, because it was being used for 4 days to keep my food cold. And then I found out when I wasn't even there that the fridge wasn't even working. So hope my really expensive vegan food didn't rot. And if it did, I really hope I'm getting reimbursed by my producer. Ooh, so there's that. But other than the electricity problem and the Wi-Fi problem and everything, it has been really fun. I really enjoy the work. I can't believe, I go into work and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm in an amusement park. Like I really am working in an amusement park. Like it's really cool, and the food's really good, and the park is really nice, and we met the owners of the park, and they're also really nice. Like the place is really great. It's going to be a really great summer. Like everyone that I'm working with is really nice. Like even the ones that I don't, a lot of people from my school are working there, but even the ones that I don't know, that I got to know, like everyone is so great, and the job is awesome. It's really, really awesome. I get to sing a whole song by myself. I get to sing Crazy by Patsy Cline. I was chosen to sing that all by myself, which is really, really cool. It's really great exposure. There's going to be hundreds and hundreds of people that are going to see me do that every day, because we have 4 shows a day, 6 days a week, and so that's really great exposure. People have gotten signed from this job before, have gotten signed for record deals, for cruise ship jobs, for bigger amusement parks, and it's just a really great opportunity overall. And once everything with the electricity and the Wi-Fi and the fridge sorts itself out, it's really not going to be so bad. And I'm going to try my best to keep up with uploads, but stay tuned for another announcement video regarding my YouTube channel. This was just an update on my life kind of thing. Anyway, we're just about coming to the end of the video. I ended up downloading, I didn't have this in my game before, but I felt like I couldn't build a medieval castle and not have any suits of armor around. And the ones that I'm putting on the castle walls around I had to fix the half walls here. They were all out of order. I ended up getting rid of the ones up top because it was a little much. But I ended up just scattering different, knights around the castle, because really, it's not a castle if there's no knights. That's from the Sims 3 store, because I wanted to get a free one, but none of them were good enough, so I ended up having to buy the one from the Sims 3 store, which wasn't the worst. I think it actually really adds a really great finishing touch to the build. So yeah, I just spent a lot of time talking, but thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment, let me know if you stayed till the end, let me know what you think of all this madness I just talked about. Let me know what you think of the castle. I like how it turns out. I really do. I think I did the best with what I could, given that there was no specific medieval pack for The Sims 3. I could have downloaded custom content, but I really didn't want to make it any more full of custom content than it already was. So yeah, be sure to check out the download link in the description. Definitely download it. There's going to be some custom content, but there's a list and there's a store content list. Please play with this if you want to. And, oh, look at my Instagram. I'm going to be posting more screenshots. And yeah, this is Simmer Rose. Have a great day, guys.